13th episode, I guess. Is that right? I think so. I think it's Unlucky Lucky 13. Here it is. Tuned up and tuned in with Vin and Phil. Episode 13. We think. I mean, I guess it's almost October-ish, kind of almost Halloween-ish.
Yep.
We'll have 5 more episodes before then, but you know.
And at some point in October, maybe we'll do like a spooky episode. You know,
we'll talk about the Monster Mash.
Yeah. Yep.
Or maybe some better songs.
one chord progression, 10 minutes.
Ooh.
No, I don't know. It's probably not that long. I wish it was that long.
I'm sure there's an extended version. There's got to be an extended version that was probably made for some DJ back then. That's just like a 10-minute version.
I feel like it's 10 minutes, but really what I'm thinking of is I probably just went to a Halloween party when I was a kid, and that song was just on loop.
Yeah, or this. Yeah, exactly. Somebody just put repeat on that one song. Yeah. Well, we're back at it. I guess today we're going to change the topic. We did a long, hard road of Bob Dylan, the band, and it was awesome. I got to be honest, and
it was really fun.
Yeah, and again, I for me very educational, and I reinforced some of the stuff, and I did go back and check out some of the stuff again.
Mm-hmm. I think I gotta still give you some tunes for the playlist for some Levon Helm solo stuff.
Well, again, like you've been saying, I've been really listening to it now. I guess since I started driving back to the studio now, the photo studio gives me about a half hour each way, and I just throw on our playlist and let it go shuffle. And it's like I said last time, there's not really a bad song. I haven't skipped a song. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a really great playlist. I enjoy it too. Like I said, every morning. Today it rained, so I didn't get my walk in, but I use it on my walk, and it makes me like go hard, especially when like James Brown like comes on. I'm just like, and I'm just like in the like walking to the beat.
No, I feel you. No, that's what I come in singing certain songs. What was it yesterday? Well, today. See, that's what ends up happening. I'll be like one will be in my head, and then I'll be getting. By the time I get to the studio, 3 songs have happened. Another 3 songs have happened in the morning. But the playlist we're talking about is still called the Vin and Phil Show playlist on Spotify. Just Vin and Phil Show, not
to confuse you. Not to confuse you or anything.
I may still set it up to change it over at some point, but for now, you know what the heck it is. So we might just keep flying. Yeah. We'll see. If we get syndicated, then we'll have to.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah,
if we ever get there.
When we're counting our stacks.
Yeah, right. From all those, from the way you guys out there have been tipping us on Venmo, I think it'll be sooner than later, based on how much money has been rolling in on our Venmo accounts.
I'm thinking after this episode, we can take a vacation, man.
I'll be buying my second Ferrari just off the tips I make from this. Very shortly.
Yeah, I got one of those Matchbox cars around here somewhere too.
Somewhere around here, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, that being said, we already talked about the playlist, and Vin segued into our Venmos right there perfectly. It's almost like he's a pro, like we've been doing this now, 13 episodes or something. But you can help fill our pockets a little bit. Both of us have Venmo. We're both working musicians, and if you got it and can give it, we'll take it.
Please.
And we appreciate it.
Have rent. I work 2 days a week, if I could choose, I would work more than 2 days, but I am stuck at 2 days a week because of goddamn COVID-19, so please send us something.
And that being said, Vin's Venmo is at Vincent-Mott, M-O-T-T, and mine is at Phil-Silverberg. Surprise. But like I said, if you're feeling generous, go on ahead. And as you can see, we keep doing them anyway. We're going to keep on trucking. That's for sure. So, and last but not least, let's talk about what we're working on, man. You got some stuff you're working on?
I have been, ever since I moved to this new spot, I've been recording like a motherfucker. Maybe not every day, but since I've come here, I've completed like at least 5 or 6 tunes since I've been here.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen Vin's Instagram yet, you got to go check out this guy's Instagram, because I believe it was just yesterday. It was either yesterday or the day before. This man, talk about having to get it done. Like, getting it done.
Oh, wait, I don't want to turn it. It might because the cable. But see the door behind me? There's another one just that way. Yeah,
I got you. So this man needed a washboard sound. He was playing the blues, wanted that washboard sound, but doesn't have a true old traditional washboard. But he certainly does have some spoons and a couple
and a braided door,
and got himself exactly what he needed for the recording.
Washboard sounding thing.
And let it be known, people. What's it been? It's been like 6 months you've been recording stuff, like.
I guess,
maybe.
April to September. Wait, I guess, did I start in April? Or did I start? No, I guess I started in April.
Yeah, well, it definitely wasn't any earlier than that.
No.
So, I mean, just so everybody out there knows it, you're like, if you want to make music, Vin is living proof right here. I mean, he's getting it done by himself. Didn't know nothing about recording, really. The very basics beforehand, and now the man knows and understands how to make what's in his head happen and do it himself. And
that is true.
It's kind of where things are going, people. It doesn't matter what genre you're in. I hate to break it to you. If you'll be able to do it with other people, but if you got the ideas in your head, you can do it yourself. And that's my preaching for you.
And check out my Instagram too. It's at Mott Blues. On Instagram at Mott Blues. You can check out. You can see that. I think I just made that a regular post. That one.
I believe so.
Should be there forever. So check that out, and all my wonderful content that I come out with.
Absolutely. If you want to keep
that's wonderful in a very sarcastic tone.
Well, you can be kept up to date with all the barbecue that Vin eats. And
tacos.
This is important stuff though. So I'm into it. Like, I follow him because he's naming things that I like.
Beer in beautiful sunset spots and things like that. Yeah, and occasionally some music too.
Right. Yeah. There's that too. And I guess just to piggyback a little bit, I have a new song coming out under my lo-fi artist name. It's coming out this Friday, which is Friday the 25th, September 25th. New song is called Cold Brew. It's featuring the one and only Mark Dollar, who was on our show and will be on our show again. Yeah. And if you haven't heard Mark play guitar, you're going to get just a sample going on in this song. It's a great sample. So you get a taste of him, but you got to hear this, man.
One of so many things he does so well. Absolutely. He does almost everything he attempts comes out as much more than just an attempt. He is an absolute professional guitar player. He basically can make any sound on the guitar that you've ever heard. He can make happen.
That's not a lie.
Yeah.
So check out that song. Like I said, the song will be coming out Friday. And go ahead to Spotify and give me a follow. And if you do that, the song should show up on your release radar. And we'll drop right into your playlists if you want it like that too. And so that's coming out. And I'm sure I'll have some other stuff coming out after that. Actually, and I guess there's another project that I'm the producer on that's also coming. A couple new song came out last week for DJ Fun Size. I produced that, or was one of the writers and producers on. I'm sorry,
yes.
Whole team. Cooper involved in that. And we might be able to. There might be a DJ Fun Size, Vin Mott, Cooper, Phil collab coming.
Oh my God! It's like a super group of musicians and producers.
You guys don't even know this is it's gonna happen across the country too. We're doing it,
yeah.
So wait for. Stay tuned on that one. Stay tuned up and tuned in, if you will.
You know I am.
The official beer of Vin.
Budweiser, sponsor us. Sponsor us, Budweiser.
There you go. And I guess that being said, let's dive the hell in, man.
Yes.
So we got an interesting topic for you guys today. This was one that kind of just Vin and I
random, but we needed. I feel like both of us needed something chill, different, little like random, just to as we do occasionally, and we've already done in these first 13 episodes. We tend to we go through a topic. We never get to the end of a topic, obviously.
It's not possible.
But we aren't afraid to take a complete 180 and just do something completely different after a week or two or three or four. And there's no rhyme or reason to when or why we're going to do it. But this week we needed to just do something a little chill. You know what I mean? Just like have a nice, easy discussion this week about some really great music. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, no, and just so everybody out there who's listening understands, Vin and I truly started having, this podcast basically because we were talking and having these types of discussions anyway. And so this is kind of how it would go if we were to talk on a weekly basis. It wouldn't necessarily be like, let's talk about the same thing all 2-3 weeks. This is kind of just like, what's up today, man?
Right.
It's like, I was just thinking about this song.
You never really, like when I was living in New Jersey and I would go down the field right where Phil's sitting right now, right in his basement, and like you never knew what we were going to talk about or the artists or the genre or like, just like Phil said, like we would literally pick apart songs or like tell each other like why, like I'd like say I'd start talking about a song and be like, man, but I really love this chord and the progression, or like vice versa, or Phil would be like, man, but the vocal melody here and the lyric or whatever, that's just how this thing kind of came to be,
So yeah, and so today I think it feels like one of those topics that is kind of very natural because it kind of came about naturally. We kind of literally shot each other a text today and we're like, what you want to talk about? I was like, I don't know. You want,
Yep.
And so I had something we kind of touched on it, and it's kind of why the reason it popped in my head to do this topic was that when we talked about the Bob Dylan song that is so deeply connected to
the Man in Me,
connected to The Big Lebowski. And how many people may not even know that it's a Bob Dylan song, but you play them that song, they go Big Lebowski. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how deeply connected the song is to the movie. And it made me think about other songs that are like that. And that's I said, Vin, why don't we think about some songs that are like in our heads when we think of them, they're connected to some movie or something. And I think naturally, right away, I'm sure some things popped in his head. And for me, what was interesting?
Did you count the seconds for me to answer you today? I was even at work running around like a chicken with my head cut off, and I knew as soon as I read his text, I was like, I already had 2, if not 3 or 4 tunes right off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, and so for me, it started with the Bob Dylan song is what, but I knew we had already talked about that, so that's just the jump off point.
Yeah, and you can check The Man in Me out on the Spotify playlist.
That's one that came up on the list recently for me in the last 2 days, and it's amazing.
It's a beautiful.
The band is great.
I talked about the backing vocals.
Oh, everybody on it is great. It's all good. It's really really good.
The organ on it, the rhythm guitar the electric guitar player on it.
Yeah,
I think Bob Dylan played the piano track on it. Yeah, I believe he played the piano part on it. And I forget, was that the one that Robbie was on? No, Robbie was on Blonde on Blonde. I don't think Robbie was on the other one. Anyway, it's a gorgeous track. Check it out. And I'm sure most, like Phil said, most of you will know it if you've ever seen The Big Lebowski. Most people have. Most people only know this tune and from there. You know, a lot of people only know it from there, you know.
Absolutely. So after I got past that thought of that song, my brain immediately started thinking about a couple songs and one movie. And I think a lot of people that grew up in my time period, whether they were baseball fans or not, would know this movie in and out like I do. And the movie is The Sandlot.
Yes.
And I guess a little background is I'm definitely a baseball person. Definitely. And so maybe that's why the movie does resonate with me a little extra. But I think, like I said, I think it was one of those 90s movies that 90s kids know and love and will cherish forever. And so, but when I think of that movie, there's a couple of songs that if I try and think back to the first time I heard them, I could be wrong, but my brain thinks The Sandlot is the first place I heard some of these. And even if I'm wrong, it's definitely the strongest connection. And like I can picture the scenes in the movie, and it's probably been years since I've watched the movie, you know. And the first one that stuck out, though, it's not, I don't know in the order of the appearance of the film that it's correct, but the first one that sticks out in my brain is the song Tequila.
Yeah.
And for me, it's because, you know, it's the scene it's in is hilarious. It's the Chaw scene where they all dip and then they go on the carnival rides and they all puke.
My God. That was always growing up my favorite. I don't know why, and it makes sense because for most of my life, I'm trying to get back off cigs for the second time in fucking 3 years now. But like
in 2 days,
it makes no seriously. I had quit. I was been a smoker since I was 13 years old. I quit last year, like literally on New Year's Eve in 2018. 2018 and was off cigarettes for all of 2019. Got back on them because of my shitty living situation. I just, I know that sounds like I'm weak. Whatever. Fuck you. I'm talking to people out there. Fuck you. You are saying that.
It could have been a lot of worse things.
I'm getting back off cigs now, but like it makes, like I became a tobacco user, not because of the movie, but like it makes sense that like when I was a kid, that was I don't know why, but that was my favorite thing. And I was like, man, like, I didn't even know what it was. And I think like my mom or something told me, I was like, oh, that's chewing tobacco. She like sort of like reluctantly told me what it was.
Right.
I was like, chewing tobacco.
What's that?
I didn't even know what tobacco was. I was like fucking 8 years old or younger maybe when I saw the movie for the first time. I'm like, what? And all I knew is that it was bad.
Right.
And I was like, all I wanted to do was what was bad. Yeah, tequila, man. Yeah, they go on the fucking tilt-a-whirl.
Yeah, I'm having doubting myself on is that exactly right, but I'm pretty sure that's the scene that's connected with.
I think so.
And again, even if it's not, that's how the wires are crossed in my brain, and that's where it's connected, whether it's there or not.
Yeah.
But I guess it's a point to note, and I just looked this up, was that The Sandlot, I guess I forgot, was specifically, and I'm sure they say somewhere in the movie, is specifically the setting is the summer of 1962, right? So that's very specific. That's not just like the 60s,
Right. Yeah.
And so this song came out in 1958, so right away, it's
our cross-pollination. Again, we couldn't plan this any better. How our cross-pollination is going to go.
I'm sick. So that song, I guess I haven't mentioned, it was by the band. I guess maybe I said the band was the Champs. Like I said, 1958, Tequila, the Champs. Let's see if I can grab any info on it real fast. Let's see. what do we know about it? Who was in the Champs? Let's see who that first.
I couldn't tell you.
I don't know if I'm gonna find it. Well, okay, so the song was written by Danny Flores. I saw that more than once, so that's important to know. So, and it's okay, and it makes sense that they are Dave Burgess, a rockabilly singer-songwriter from California who often recorded under the name Dave Dupree. I'm reading from Wikipedia, just so everybody knows. I'm not
sure. I will be doing the same, just so I don't have to say it later.
It was quick. It was easy, people. Believe it if you want to believe it. Otherwise, it's fake news, whatever you want to call it. But so he wrote under the name Dave Dupree. And he had produced No Hits Challenge record. Victor Burgess, who organized a recording session on December 23rd in the studio. Cliff Hill's on bass. Yeah, so it was a bunch of session musicians, it looks like. Tequila, just a jam by Flores Trio, based on a Cuban mambo beat. The word tequila is spoken three times throughout the tune. There were 3 takes, and Danny Flores, who wrote the song, was also the man who spoke the word tequila. Flores, who played the trademark dirty sax solo. The song served as the B-side. That's a good thing to note. That solo. Oh man, when you I wasn't even thinking about that.
His tone on the melody, on the main riff,
right?
The main melody is
gritty and sick, man.
I
wasn't even thinking about that.
Sax.
And they
definitely
said
it make it. I didn't realize it was that old. I didn't realize it was from the late 50s.
Yeah,
I
released January 15th, 1958. And
it's such a novelty song that it's easy to like overlook, you know, that like, I mean, of course, like we all love it as being a part of the American canon, you know, you hear that melody and you can't help when it gets to the end of the progression. What are you going to do? Not say tequila?
Right.
You know?
No, the song was written about that, written for that. Talk about it is now that I think about it, it is the ultimate hook. It's a one-word song. One-word song that you hear it the first time, and you know the rest of the song what to do.
Yep. And can I say my favorite instrument, musician, whoever this guy may be, is whoever was playing the acoustic guitar on the track. Well, I don't know what it is, but his feel is so banging, dude.
Well, it says here as a final note that the feel was similar to Bo Diddley's Dearest Darling, which I don't know that I know off the top of my head personally. You may be more familiar than I, but that's where that comes from.
Yeah, I do know that track.
So
put that one on the fucking playlist as well.
The
Bo Diddley tune.
Sure, sure, no problem. So the cover by Eddie Platt took the tune to number 20 in the U.S. in 1958. So after they put it out, a cover version came out, and I think did better.
Whoa.
And I don't know which version we know. I need to go listen.
Now that's blowing my mind. Yeah. So well, I guess there's 2 questions. Whose version is in the Sandlot, A? Whose version, what? I guess we need to hear both versions on the playlist.
Yeah. The plot thickens, people.
Oh man, this is the excitement of an off the fly episode.
I'm only one song deep. No, okay, so the version that was on the Sandlot is the Champs version. Okay, and that being said, that's probably the version I know the most. However, that's really interesting if the Eddie Platt version did better. Oh no, I'm sorry. Tequila reached number 1 on the Billboard on March 28th under the Champs.
The Champs. Okay. But then we must. I'm pretty. Maybe I'm starting to get a little more certain that the version we all know and love is the OG version.
For sure, but it's still pretty remarkable that the same song by a cover version of the same song still hit number 20 in the same year. Like, it's not even like the next year. Like, a few months later, they were like,
yeah,
that's
right. Yeah, it wasn't like a nostalgic classic by the time another band had a hit with it. You know,
that's crazy.
So it would be like what's a big hit right now? I don't listen to.
See,
radio,
now's a bad example because now it's like currently like a hip thing to like immediately do the acoustic version of whatever biggest pop song there is right now. That's like a thing. God. So like, but it was definitely not a cool thing for a long time. So that's only the first song I named, but I've got some others here. I don't know if the other ones are going to take us as far deep. Maybe they will. Let's see.
Give them a shot.
I'm going to want to toss it over to you, of course. But
no, do your thing, man. For sure. Because I go in a different direction. Movie theme wise.
Gotcha.
Just keep going.
All right. Well, then I have one that'll segue for you. But the next one on the list that I have is the Ray Charles version of America the Beautiful. Now, this is actually the one out of my list of songs from The Sandlot is the only one that's not a period song. It's actually a 1972 release, so far 10 years after this. So, you know, however, you don't even blink when you throw it into that playlist. So, it gives you
giving
me chills. I swear to God.
Yes, I have them too. I literally have them right now on my fucking
as I went to talk about it, I was like,
because I'm picturing that scene
exactly,
right? The fireworks fucking scene.
How can you not like? And as somebody again, that's where as the baseball player. I mean, even if you're not a baseball player, but the baseball player in me,
it makes a fat kid like me wish I played. I remember baseball.
I remember
as a kid.
Just being able to play under the lights on a 4th of July game, you know, or even just playing baseball on 4th of July in general was often the closest I could get.
Can I tell you, man, that like growing up in my town in Pequannock Township, like the night games, it was night games were held at a baseball park called Washington Park in Pequannock. There were 3 baseball diamonds there, and when I was a kid, only field 1 had the lights. Only field 1 had the like light up scoreboard, and only field 1 had like the announcer booth. You know, sure. Now I think all 3 do. I don't know. I'm pretty certain they all do, but back then, went like every whatever it would be, like Friday night or whatever, when that's when the night game was.
Sure.
And like every team had their rotation, you know, at least one night game. I think it was certain age group too. I don't think I ever made it to that far in Little League to get to the night games. But even if you weren't playing baseball, it was like the thing, even as like the punk, like when we got older, we were teenagers as like punk kids. Cause I think it was like the older kids who got to play the night games. And like, that was the thing to like hang out, meet up with your fucking girlfriend and like get high and drink a beer in the woods and then fucking fuck around at the fucking snack stand, you know what I mean? And like ride your bike around or your skateboard around and act like a punk, fucking get in fights at the fucking in the parking lot and shit. Like it was like night games and the being under those fucking big tall baseball park fields is like so magical as a suburbanite. A kid who grew up in suburbia, I'll say.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, it really was like a very, I can't even put words to it. It was like a magical night. You didn't know you'd like go out, you'd be like riding down there on your bike at like 14, 15. You're like, you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. You know what I mean? You didn't know what the hell is going to happen. Like, you could sit in the back of the fields, sometimes hang on the fence, watch a couple innings, grab a fucking slice of pizza or a pretzel or whatever at the snack stand, then walk around, fuck around, cat call the girls walking by and shit. And like I said, man, it was like the night games were always like a magical time. There were a few things in my town that were like that, but in the spring it was about the night games, man. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like your experience was a little different than mine.
Because you were playing. I wasn't a player. I quit baseball when I was really young because I sucked at it. I had a year where I didn't get a single hit. And I was like I was trying to pitch and like I couldn't throw the ball straight. And I was really young. I'm talking like 4th, 5th grade. And I got glasses like in 6th grade. But I like 5th grade was the year I was like, fuck this, baseball's not for me. I was a much better wrestler, football player, and swimmer. Well, and like, I think if I would have known that glasses were going to I was going to be a glasses wearer, maybe if I had glasses. So I say that, in excuse.
Like I said, that I don't want to jump movies just yet, but that just leads me to another baseball movie that I was going to get to anyway.
Do it.
But because in that baseball movie, there's a pitcher who gets glasses. And the movie I'm talking about is Major League.
Of course.
And I'm talking about
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen as Wild Thing.
Wild Thing. Badass, dude. So, like, such a badass in a comedy. That's like that character is like one of my favorite characters in a comedy for sure.
But that's it. So like I said, I don't even want to jump over it too much. And there's not too much to go on that one. People, if you don't know, I mean, I know you probably have heard Wild Thing. It's often forgotten what the band is. The band was the Trogs. That's important. I guess that's British invasion, kind of, right? Kind of that time period.
Maybe.
I don't know. I forget if they're a British band, but I think it's that time period. I didn't get to look up that year.
When the singer in that is like, kind of like in the vein of like, I don't know. I feel like the singer in that must have had a drug problem and I mean that in the best of ways. Like I compared that the way that singer, whoever the singer was in that band, I compare that to like guys like say Joe Strummer, the way Joe Strummer sometimes would sing.
Well, again, they are British, and but they were like that early. They were early garage rock, hard rock, and what they call proto punk.
Sure.
So it was 1966 release for that song.
Kind of crunchy for that 60s vibe, you know what I mean? Like a little more crunchier than what was going on in the pop world. But also, not only does he remind me of Joe Strummer, obviously, both people are going to be later, but like even in a more modern setting like Tim Armstrong, how Tim Armstrong's kind of like took heroin voice and like made it sound really fucking cool. I think he's got one of the coolest voices of any genre, Tim Armstrong. And I feel like Tim Armstrong could sing Wild Thing and you wouldn't bat an eye.
I believe it.
Nah.
This it's so like I said, I don't even want to, we don't need to spend too much on that one, but it's a great song, that's for sure. Straight ahead, it's such a straight ahead song, and I mean, in my head, I can't separate it from Jimmy's version. Also, Jimi Hendrix, of course, has his version, which is it's not like he does much more than just doing the Jimmy thing on top of it, but like as far as the actual song goes, same kind of thing. I mean,
he's got a good version.
I guess if you're talking about drug voice, I guess that kind of fits the pattern in there.
Well, he did a great job with it. That like he didn't lose that vibe vocally.
Yeah,
like,
it was just still just raw and rock and I don't know.
For those of you
kind
in
of
New
Danzig-ish
Jersey,
a little bit, like almost, not Danzig is smoother and rounder, not it's a cleaner vocal, but it's that same kind of like.
Danzig would try to croon it though.
I guess
feel
that's what
like
I mean by smoother.
if Danzig did it, Danzig would try to croon it. He wouldn't be sloppy on it. He wouldn't be so sloppy. Yeah. But that song needs to be like sloppy and greasy,
Hell yeah.
For those of you in New Jersey, if you're looking for a local band who plays that song, I would say the guy who does it best, and maybe one of the only guys who's doing it in the North Jersey bar band scene, Mr. Mike Brigado.
Really?
And I think his band is called Sharper Edge. Shout out to Mike Brigado and Cindy Brigado. I love you guys and I miss you guys. I know you don't probably watch these, but I'm shouting you out anyway. He's one of the only bar band guys around, now that I've seen at like in the Great Notch Inn scene who does it, and he does it really well, and I love when he does Wild Thing. So go check out Mike Brigado and Sharp Edge.
Awesome. So I'll wrap up my other ones from the Sandlot, and then we'll pass it on off to you. We didn't even really talk too much. We just talked about the Chills from America the Beautiful, and maybe that's all we got to say. Maybe that's we talked about it, and we talked about playing ball, and there is that the thing is the image that in the movie, again, for people who don't know the movie that well, or I've seen it or whatever. This is the scene where they are playing baseball under the lights after the carnival, either before or after I forget if it's which comes first.
Isn't the story in the movie that the fireworks were so bright that they were able to get a few innings in?
That is
because
exactly
the fireworks were so bright that they were able to play ball under those lights.
Right.
Yeah.
And the dream of getting to play baseball under fireworks. And I've definitely, I'm trying to think if I played a game and then there were fireworks after. I've definitely been to games and then fireworks after. And even that has a thing. That's pretty freaking American.
Time machine, please. I want to go back. I want to be a kid again.
So and just at the same time as that scene is happening, you've got this slow motion. So you got Benny hits a home run basically and just mashes a ball, and then he's slow motion running around the bases, and in the background you've got Ray Charles.
And Ray is just
saying America. America,
souling out that fucking tune, man, and just making it so soulful.
Yeah, and it's the that the sum of all of those parts are created a there's no better way to say it. It's just a memorable scene that you truly cannot forget.
Nostalgic.
I don't need to see the movie to see that scene. I just described it. Like what I just described to you is the scene.
That's it. Really?
So
if you haven't seen Sandlot, then
if you have, go back and watch it again.
Stop this now. Don't even bypass the fucking playlist and go fucking illegally download it and fucking watch it right now.
Nah, but and check it out and pay attention if you haven't paid attention to the soundtrack before. Like I said, I've only got 4 songs that I really picked out of it. But ultimately, if you really look through all of it, they're all great songs, and there's songs that you probably know. You probably know all of them, and you probably know most of them because of the
for a reason, and the soundtrack is no exception. It's
for sure.
It's 100. The whole package, movie and soundtrack, is 100% and nostalgia.
The next one that I'm going to talk about is the same thing. This is a song I definitely know for other reasons, but if I try to explain this song, if I say, oh, that song, and people are like, I don't know. I'm like, oh yeah, in the Sandlot. And then you explain it and they're like, oh, and Green Onions, right? The song has probably been
when he's putting the shoes on.
I think so. Is that it? I forget if it's then or not, but either way, like I said, I know the songs in the movie, and I know that
I think you're right.
Based on my age, I
it's
don't know
that
when I would have first.
When he's,
I don't know if I would have first. Yeah, I don't know if I would. If that's I can't. That's the first memory I have of hearing that song. You know what I mean? Whether it was the first time or not, again, I don't know. But I know that in my brain can connect. Oh, I definitely heard that song in this movie. And like I said, maybe I can't remember the scene specifically. I bet I could find it out. I could probably look at like the timestamp and go, oh, it's this area in the movie.
Sure.
But it probably is. No, it's either that or like when there is the shoes getting ready to chase with the dog. I feel like it's like when they're getting ready to go over the fence.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's the part of the movie I'm thinking of.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's somewhere in there. And then
I think you're right about that.
And then the and based on the order, this must be true. Oh, and time wise, that's 1962, right? So again, the movie's supposed to be summer of '62. This is like perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then last but not least is Wipeout, which we all know.
Yes.
Band on that, by the way, is Green Onions, for those of you that don't know, is Booker T and the MGs. I forget if I mentioned that.
It's on the list
really
already. It's on the playlist.
Right. We talk because when we talk Stax and Motown, you can't not mention Booker T and the MGs.
Mm-hmm.
So Wipeout is by the band The Surfaris. Surf, like surfing, because they were so clever.
The Surfaris.
And Wipeout, again, I'm sure you all know this song, but to just cue you, it's the biggest surf song of all time. Yes. And
the tom thing.
Yep. And Animal and now that I think is also involved in that scene. I thought in my head I was thinking, is that involved with the pool scenes or not? But it's not. I'm pretty sure it's the chase scene again. I think it's the like dog is already chasing him.
Yeah.
And so right, and that's again. Yes. This is just perfect. It's just proving the point.
I'm watching that movie. I'm finding that movie and watching it tonight.
But I'm watching exactly. We just watched half of it by talking about that in these scenes.
I don't care that I've seen it like 20 times in my life. I probably haven't seen it enough, to be honest with you. Like for me personally, and I've seen it 20 or more times.
Vin, you got to go back, and now the catcher, what's his name?
Yes, I love him. I don't remember his name, but I can't think of it. He's definitely like my guy. He's my guy.
Hey, is that your sister out there in center field? Like classic stuff. The Great Bambino,
you've never heard of the Great Bambino.
Oh man, I guess I'm gonna have to go watch it too.
Yeah. Let me tell you, hey, back to Wipeout, man, and on a side note about Wipeout happens to be the song I played for the first time ever on stage. It's my first live music experience was playing the tune Wipeout at a school and at my elementary school's talent show. I was in 3rd grade, and I played it with my brother who played guitar. I played drums. My brother played guitar. My brother was a few years older than me. He was in middle school, actually, but he did the talent show with me. And the talent show was in the big auditorium in high school. It was like a packed-ass auditorium, big, huge auditorium. It felt like it was a big, huge auditorium. It's probably not that big, but maybe like 200 people at the most. But that's huge as a fucking... How old are you in 3rd grade? Like 8?
Something like that.
7, 8?
That and for your first gig.
My first gig was playing Wipeout in an auditorium with my brother on guitar, and I played drums. And that Wipeout will forever be
forever. It all goes back to Sandlot.
What about the other scene that I always, I think because I was like weirded out by it when I was a little kid, but the pool scene where he like pretends to drown and he like
the girl's I was trying to think,
giving him CPR, and I was like I don't get it. I guess as a kid I probably didn't get it, but I knew something was like weird,
but then he
about
winks
it,
and you fucking winks.
He's like
genius. And I was trying to think of what's the song the first time she walks by. What's the song?
See, I gotta watch the movie tonight.
Okay, well, I have it right here. So, do you think it's There Goes My Baby? Probably.
Mm-hmm. Wait,
or This Magic Moment, or it's This Magic Moment. That's what it might. That's what it is.
Who's There Goes My Baby? Because I could think of 3 different songs.
The Drifters.
There goes my baby, walking on down.
Yeah, there's another one that popped in my. I thought it was another one too. There go. I think is it? I forget who the version I'm thinking of. I think it's already on our list.
Now I've already got the Drifters version in my head.
But that's the one that's in there.
There Goes My Baby, not version.
Yeah, it's either that or This Magic Moment, which is also the Drifters.
Oh, the Drifters! I love the Drifters. I love the Drifters.
And again,
Under
really
the boardwalk, up on the roof.
All period pieces too. You know what I mean? Again, they all, in terms of the songs that were on the rest of the. You know, I'm gonna just read off the last couple because there's only a couple others that were on there that we didn't talk about.
Let's hear 'em.
The Lion Sleeps Tonight by the Tokens, which is that's a classic that everybody knows and doesn't know the name of the band, and the guy that wrote that song is it's a sad story.
Really? I don't know. I know nothing about it.
I'm pretty sure that like there's something about somewhere in there that like they don't get credited something or somebody else did. I'll double check on it, but I'm pretty sure there's a sad story in this song somewhere.
Really?
But maybe I'll stand corrected. I'll eat crow. But
the only thing I know about The Lion Sleeps Tonight is it reminds me of Chuck E. Cheese again when I was like 6 years old.
I think of Ace Ventura.
I don't know why, but it does.
I think of Ace Ventura.
Oh,
It's like the sex scene.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I wish that was the first thing that came to my mind. Why I think of fucking Chuck E. Cheese, I don't know. But
well, again, just another. It's movie. You know, for me, it was just another movie.
It also maybe even more than Chuck E. Cheese. It reminds me of my grandma. Actually, my grandma's favorite animal was lion. Everything in her house was lions. You know,
nice.
And it wasn't her favorite song by any means, but like. She when I was a kid, she would sing it because she was like a lion person, liked lions, you know.
Sure.
Anyway, off topic.
Yeah, no, I'll just run down. Like I said, I'm just run off a few.
The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
There's only like two or three others here, really. Yeah, so Lion Sleeps Tonight, This Magic Moment, Tequila, America the Beautiful, Smokey Part 2 was by Bill Black. And the Bill Black's combo, and when you hear it, you probably are familiar with it.
Yeah, I probably do know it. Yeah.
And then Wipeout, There Goes My Baby, we just talked about, Green Onions, and then Finger Poppin' Time by Hank Ballard. Which also when you hear it, you go, oh, I know.
Yeah. I do know. I think I could think of that one. Yeah.
And that's all the songs that are credited on the official soundtrack. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some others in there where they did some other hints of some other things, but we named the big ones for us.
Hell yeah.
And then I guess I got one last song that's not on this movie, and I'm going to use it as my segue over, even though it's not exactly a great segue, but it's a different movie than a baseball movie, right? So my other ones that I talked about were baseball related. Wild Thing was also another baseball, and it was interesting to me that happened in my brain naturally. To be completely honest with you, that it's just. I don't know why, but those were the songs that popped in my head. But aside from that, and it's probably because of Wild Thing, the song Bad to the Bone, George Thorogood, right?
Love it.
Terminator 2, Judgment Day. The opening of the movie.
So not baseball related at all.
Nope. But it was, like I said, it was because of Wild Thing and then being similar kind of songs.
Let me tell you, man, on the topic of George Thorogood, not so much Terminator, but as a blues man, as myself, George Thorogood will sometimes be brought up in conversations, and real hardcore blues people like myself tend to shit on George Thorogood, especially that era and beyond, you know.
Sure.
Most people agree his early stuff is pretty good. He did more covers in his early days, but like once he got into that era, people are like, it's fucking lame. It's like, I don't give a fuck.
It's bad to the bone.
Bad to the bone. I drink alone. I fucking love all his hits are cool as fuck.
They used in Major League. So again, this is where it ended up tying back unintentionally. In Major League, they used one of his songs. And he's
a Delaware guy too, by the way. For those of you East Coasters, he's a Delaware boy.
So
shout out Delaware music scene. Delaware has a very underappreciated, overlooked blues scene. Excuse me. That he came from, and it's still a very thriving blues scene today. Shout out to my Delaware motherfuckers.
I think it was. Maybe it wasn't Major League. Maybe it was one of. I looked up a bunch of other baseball movies to see. What I looked at. Even if you look at A League of Their Own, some of the music that's used in there too, you can kind of see a running theme.
This is another one I gotta rewatch.
And some great songs in there too. A little different because you get but it's again, they tried to do some of the period stuff, so you get a little bit more of the swing era type stuff going on in there, which is really cool.
So cool.
And
such good music, man. We'll never be done. We'll never be done. The conversation will never be completed. You know what I mean?
I'll have to find the other. I definitely saw George Thorogood on one of the other song lists. It's not. I must be wrong though. It's not on Major League, but I'll find it. But anyway, so like I said, and I don't have too much on Bad to the Bone either. Like I said, for me, it's just a strong connection. I think it's because Terminator 2, and this is the crazy stuff. I mean, and I'll talk about it with Sandlot 2 real fast. Terminator 2, I can remember the first time I saw that movie, where I saw it. It was on Laserdisc. That was the new cool thing. It was before DVD.
Yeah, and
it was in between DVD and
disc
VHS.
Sounds very futuristic to me still, but like it's like fucking 20-year-old fucking
only the
technology.
Only the uber wealthy, like the most. It was a very special few that had it, and it just did not catch the way that DVDs eventually did. But it was so that's the first time I saw it, and I was young. And the movie was definitely like one of the first rated R type movies that I would have seen. And that scene, that scene in Terminator Judgment Day it's the beginning of the beginning of the movie. He walks into a biker bar naked, and they obviously, and then the guy puts a cigar out on him, and he just breaks the guy's hand, and the whole thing, and then he walks out of the bar in the leather, and they're playing Bad to the Bone, and it's and like, what is more badass that like Bad to the Bone? That is the most perfect song you could, and it's been used since then in other things like that, but it's almost cliche. To me, it's not cliche that it was in Terminator like that, but it's cliche that anybody else did it.
Yeah.
And just real fast, again, these are it's crazy how strong, and I guess that's what this whole conversation about is to me, is how strong the connections are. Like to know where I first saw that movie, and then know that, and like I said, The Sandlot, same deal. The Sandlot, I don't remember, I think it said 93 is when that movie came out. I saw that in a movie theater in Livingston, which is called The Colony. It wasn't there very long. 93 means that I was 7 or 87, right? Yeah, 8 maybe. So
you were born in 87?
Yeah, so 6? That can't be right. Holy shit. No.
I just counted. I was born in 89, so 90, 91, 2, 3. I was 4 years old.
So I was 6 or 7. Yeah. so then maybe now I don't know. Maybe it's still the first time that I saw, but maybe it wasn't the actual release, which is possible. But either way, what it was that it was a birthday party, and they rented the theater. So that's why it is possible that we watched the movie, and that it wasn't. And it was. I can tell you whose birthday it was. That's fucked up, dude. It's elementary school we're talking about.
Isn't it weird how things can like conjure up these memories? You're like, how do I even have the ability to remember this? Like,
so like to think that, and then and I have to imagine that the songs play some role in that. They say that, you know, I believe that it is said that the connections that we have to music, to the music and the moment that we heard that song, or, you know, the emotional connections that we might have to a song, are either as strong or stronger than I think they talk about sense of smell being one of the things that, like, being one of those things that just take you right to a place. But that,
sure,
I think music, at least I know from smell does it too, but the fact that I can be that specific about these kinds of things, the scenes of a movie where I saw that movie, it's mind-boggling to me, that the connections can be that strong. And I'm done rambling on about it, but to me, it's pretty freaking cool.
No, absolutely, you're right. I mean, it's incredible how our brains work, man. I don't know shit about it. I know there's people who definitely don't watch us, but like who do know how that shit works. Like, it's the brain. Human brain is an incredible feat of nature. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Like the electronic connections that happen in pieces of fucking fat and tissue inside of a big bone bowl that like, you know what I mean, that controls this, me doing this. It's like, you know what I mean? It's fucking crazy. And like that, yeah, the senses are the most like fascinating part of about our bodies, I feel like, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, that, like, because like your senses are connected to not only the organ that makes that happen, like say for music, obviously our ears are that organ, right? But like that it connects to your eyes and your nose and your mouth,
right?
You know, and your touch, you know what I mean? Like, shit, dude.
No, it's crazy.
It's nuts. I can't say much about it because I'm a dumb, stupid idiot. But like, I don't shit about it. But like, it really, like, I think most of all, talking about like music that reminds us of movies makes me so nostalgic, man. It's the nostalgia, and nostalgia is really what I love about music, even that I love, you know, like that's like why I'm like a vintage guy, you know. I mean, is it weird that like a lot of times I say like I get nostalgic for eras that I didn't even live during, you know what I mean? But I get like, I feel not the same, maybe not the same nostalgia as somebody who does have the visuals and the smells and the tastes, you know, and people who really were there. It's not the same, but I almost like have a nostalgic feel for this, for especially old music. Like, it's why I really love it and connect to it, and like it more makes me think of like the people who I know who were there, like my parents and my grandparents, and,
sure,
and people I didn't even know. Like, what were people like in New York City in the 1940s? You know what I mean? Like, you could like put yourself there, and then all of a sudden it is it becomes like, in a way, a personal connection to you.
Sure.
I don't know. That's just how it's always been for me. That's why I'm obsessed with old music.
Well,
you know?
I mean, that being said, man, like I said, I'm good for now, and I do sense that this might be a multi-week show. It was only supposed to be just a fun, but
it was only supposed to be just like a bridge.
I'm gonna tell you right now, as you just talking about nostalgic thing, I can't help but think about. I'll tell you.
You got ideas? All right. We'll talk about ideas.
Oh yeah,
we'll talk about ideas.
Oh man, I'm gonna write it down. But that being said, man, take on over. Let's hear that nostalgia. Where'd it go?
Cool. So, all right. So, this may be quick. You know,
that's
I don't have so much in.
Like
we always say, and like Phil said before, I'm just gonna be reading shit as I kind of go a little bit, but I mean, these are all tunes that I'm pretty familiar with anyway. But anyway, Phil talked a lot about baseball, and like Phil said, he's a baseball guy, been a baseball guy his whole life, and naturally a film like The Sandlot especially is like something that is very near and dear to his heart. In the same sense, for me, my favorite genre of movie is the mafia movie.
That's why I was juggling already, because it's such a funny thing to be like, the way that Phil loves baseball. I love the mob.
I like motherfuckers committing crimes and killing each other, fucking, and being mad, corrupting fucking political and fucking police motherfuckers, shit like that. Anyway, really, what drew me to mafia movies was that, especially any movie that either focused or featured, even even if it wasn't the main focus, but may even featured the Italian American mafia, because the films, not only do they highlight obviously the crimes they commit, which is bad. We all know that's bad shit. Like, I'm not following in any of these fictional characters' footsteps, even when they're based on true stories. A lot of the stories are fucking embellished, and names are changed, and fucking things that happened in what would be a factual story. Anyway, I don't have to explain this. I'm not a criminal, is what I'm trying to say, because I watch a lot of fucking movies about true crimes. But I loved that they would not only show all that stuff, which I thought was cool, but like it would feature like Italian American culture, and let me emphasize Italian American culture. I truly believe that there is a very big difference between like an Italian and Italian American, and I'm very, very proud to be an Italian American. If you couldn't already tell. But obviously, I love mafia movies, man. They're fucking cool as fuck. I like seeing the fucking violence and the fucking, I don't desire to,
commit that
live
violence
that way. It's in most of those movies, kind of have the moral of the story is to not be a criminal. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm going to talk about mafia movies today. I guess I can't just find the right words to say, but I love mafia movies, and there's 3 movies in particular. Well, there's many movies that have almost it's sort of a part of the modern mafia movie genre. I could talk about the old movies from the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, and the 60s for that matter. They were the movies that were that old were a different animal. They're great. I mean, check out any mob movie. Public Enemy, I think. Movies like that. They're American classics. Not that one's a Italian American mafia movie, but the older movies are great, but the modern mafia movie, a part of it is having a soundtrack that's very nostalgic, very much period correct. Especially even if a story goes throughout decades, the music tends to move through the same decades. Cool. Really, really dope. There is I'm going to talk about 2 different I have 3 movies, 4 songs, 2 different directors. And I'm going to start with maybe the undisputed greatest director of mafia genre movies of all time, Mr. Martin Scorsese. Little known person named Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, and I think his best mafia movie was The Last Waltz.
The Last Waltz. He was the director of The Last Waltz, yeah. And him and Robbie Robertson in the 70s were coke buddies, apparently. But he's the fucking man. He's great at what he does. He still cranks out movies, obviously, I'm sure most people have seen The Irishman. It got mixed reviews. I don't know why. It was a great fucking movie. And if you disagree with me, you can go fuck yourself. In the words of the great Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro in Martin Scorsese movies. So the first one, basically, like, a lot of times, like, now Martin Scorsese is so known, he hand curates his soundtracks, or at least has a very, very big role in picking the music in his movies. He is a like I said, he in the 70s he was, and throughout his whole life, he's always been drawn to musicians in his personal life, and he's always been friends with rock and roll musicians and soul musicians and blues musicians. Wolf of Wall Street, on a side note, has one of the best blues music soundtracks of any movie ever. Have you ever fucking watched that movie?
I actually have
It's
not.
like Howlin' Wolf, Elmore James, Muddy, fucking, it's all the baddest Chicago blues all over that movie. Martin Scorsese's soundtracks are always so good. So good. And where his career starts to really take off is in 1973 with a movie called Mean Streets. Phil, have you seen it? Mean Streets.
Have not. Not that I don't think so.
All right. A lot of people who aren't like diehard Scorsese fans probably have not seen this, I will say.
Sorry to let you down, Vin.
It's okay. No, you're like I said, you're not the only one.
We can do a Zoom movie watching session sometime.
Mean Streets is basically a story about a mafia associate and an upcoming street hoodlum who is the mafia is maybe interested in, but he's also kind of a wild card motherfucker. Played by Robert De Niro. Harvey Keitel is the mafia associate that is the main character. But the movie, and really what I'm going to talk about with all three movies is that, like I said, part of the genre is the soundtrack for sure, but every movie has a starting, like a first initial song in the very beginning of each movie that sets the tone for the rest of the movie. And that is like when you hear these songs, to me, I think that's Mean Streets,
sure, or
that's Goodfellas,
yeah,
or that's A Bronx Tale, or what have you, like pick any mafia movie, big or small. They all try to have that like big nostalgic classic song right at when they roll the credits. You know what I mean? The opening credits.
Sure.
And Mean Streets comes in typical Martin Scorsese style. It comes in with basically just street. It's a shot of Harvey in an apartment, and it's like an empty, dreary apartment, lower Manhattan apartment. The whole movie basically takes place in Manhattan's Little Italy, Mulberry Street, and whatnot. So all you hear, the movie comes in, all you hear is just like honking horns, street noise, and Harvey's giving a monologue about this fucking crazy dream that mixes with Catholicism and paganism. and it's a crazy monologue. And then the screen goes black, and all you hear is boom, 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 bop, boom, 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 bop, boom, and then the band comes in. I'm talking about none only than the Ronettes' "Be My Baby." And did I say Mean Streets is 1973? This is like the Scorsese's like first big major film, I should say. It's definitely, like I said, it's not well known. 1973, but the Ronettes' "Be My Baby" is like, it comes in and it like, just the way we were talking about Ray Charles giving us goosebumps. If you knew this movie, like, the screen goes black and you just hear the opening to "Be My Baby," which is just drums. Doom, 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 bop, doom, 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 bop, boom, 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 bop, boom, ba, boom, bop, boom. Then Ronnie comes in. So a little bit about "Be My Baby." Obviously the Ronettes, a Phil Spector band, Phil Spector produced band. The song is written by Phil Spector along with two songwriters, I'm guessing, named Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich. Recorded in 1963. And it's so typical. I'm sure most people know this tune. It's the Ronettes. It's probably the Ronettes' most well-known tune, "Be My Baby."
Yeah, just as a side note, that guy Jeff Barry, the other songs that he's credited are like, you'd be like, oh. I mean, he was a writer.
Yeah, what are some we know?
He was a writer, singer, and record producer, and amongst again, I'm just looking on Wikipedia. Amongst the successful songs that he was a co-writer on was "Do Wah Diddy." Well, I guess he was good at these. I mean, it was a period thing, but "To Do Ron Ron."
Yeah.
So, and then he "Kissed Me," "Be My Baby," "Chapel of Love."
Of course, all the girl group stuff.
And River Deep Mountain High.
Yeah, fuck yeah. So girl group stuff and soul stuff.
Sugar, Leader of the Pack. Yeah, I mean, it sounded like he worked with Phil Spector.
And early 60s pop, girl group stuff.
Yeah.
Some R&B.
The Monkees were in there at some point. Neil Diamond he worked with a little bit, but yeah.
Well, for those of you who don't know anything about Phil Spector, too, really, the Ronettes, I mean, as shitty of a person as Phil Spector was, there's no denying his absolute genius musically.
Yeah.
And in the studio, his whole thing, Phil Spector's whole thing was called the Wall of Sound, is what he's known for. And Phil was like, he would have these ginormous orchestras recording rock and roll music, but with like huge, like basically like classical orchestra instrumentations, and like say like what you hear as like a drum set, what you're in your mind is registering as like, that's the drum set I'm hearing. It's actually like 6 people playing fucking each part of the drums, and there's like chimes, and there's like 7 guitars all doing the same thing but with different tones and spread out, fucking making this huge,
all sorts of crazy
huge sound,
things that and
then Ronnie comes in. Like I said, Ronnie comes in with the vocal, and his vocal, like recording, what do you call it, like his vocal production.
Yeah.
The way the vocals on all that girl group stuff that he did sounds like the only way to say it is it's like sharp. It's like cuts like a fucking razor, dude. It's like there's like this, it's like distorted, but it's clean in the same way. Like, it's a crazy sound. Ronnie's singing. Ronnie was so talented, and she was so hot in the 60s too. I have such a boner for Ronnie Spector back then. Fucking, it's crazy. But when you watch the opening of Mean Streets and you hear that fucking drum beat. And the other thing too, obviously with the 60s and Phil Spector for sure, is like the reverb and the room sound, the reverb and the fucking the like delay or more echo, you know, that's laid on that. It's bare drums. You gotta just hear it to know what I'm talking about. Mixed with the way that song comes in with that song, with that movie, is like, every time I hear the song, and I listen to the Ronettes on a pretty regular basis, but like, I cannot hear that song without thinking of the beginning of that movie. Word. You know, and then while the song plays, it plays like most of the tune. Throughout the opening credits, like I said, and during those opening credits, he shoots with like what do you call that? Like real old film, like a Super 8.
Yeah,
is that what it's called?
Yeah, there's Super
like
8.
a almost like a handheld camera, you know, like a home camera for you know 60s era or 70s, 60s, 70s era. It looks like something like I watched at my grandpa's house of like my dad and my uncle and my aunt like running around as little kids, you know what I mean? It's all little, it's like a montage of all that with the credits going, with the opening credits going, while Ronnie, Spector and the Ronettes are fucking, and Be My Baby is blaring through. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie. That movie is so underrated. So for a director who's super mainstream now, that movie is one of his most underrated. And if you're into mob movies and mafia movies and into movies that feature Italian American culture, it's one of the best. Really, really one of the best. There's a lot of Italian language in it. And I believe sometimes his movies don't put the subtitles in. I think there are subtitles in this one. And Robert De Niro is like fucking 20 years old. And he plays a wild card fucking guy who's not afraid to like get in a mafia guy's face where he should be showing respect, you know? And like he owes mafia guys money and then he fucking insults him to his face. His character's crazy, dude. Young Robert De Niro. And it's all set in lower Manhattan, in Little Italy on Mulberry Street. That's a movie that like makes me fall in love with New York City again, you know? Like, as much as I say, and most people who know me know I fucking hate having to go to New York City. But like that movie makes me like, oh man, I miss it. Makes me feel the way I felt about New York City when I was a teenager, like skipping fucking high school and going there with like our girlfriends to like, you know, fuck around the city for a day. Like, and I was in love with the city when I was a teenager. And that's probably when I saw the movie for the first time, was like right in that era. I was like 15, 16.
Sure.
And the Be My Baby is always like jets me mentally back to that movie, and I'm just like, oh, shit. And even that too, watching that movie, obviously the movie came out in 73, right? I'm fucking 31 years old. I was not alive then. I had a very big DVD collection. I was very big into movies in high school, and like I said, mob movies, mafia movies were my absolute favorite genre. And I had them all on DVD. And even that too, like the nostalgia of not only the music and that movie, but like thinking about like when I hear that music, it brings me back to my basement growing up and sitting on the couch with the group of friends I had in high school and like watching this movie for the 100th time in the dark. We're teenagers, maybe making out a little bit or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, beautiful, beautiful movie. If you haven't seen Mean Streets, highly suggested. An early Martin Scorsese classic, an early very young Robert De Niro. as a supporting actor, and the Ronettes "Be My Baby" in the opening credits is just absolutely perfect choice of music to go with that opening credits scene. Yeah, that's Mean Streets. So another one that kind of does similar things to me. This one is way more mainstream. Maybe you've heard of this movie. I don't know. But it's a little known movie called Goodfellas by the same director, Martin Scorsese. Maybe you've heard of Goodfellas. I don't know. Have you seen that one, Phil?
Yes, probably. I know it's not enough to really be like, oh, I could. Yeah, not enough. It's not. Movies in general are not really my thing. It's like the movies that I think of when we talk about the songs are gonna end up being all in a similar vein of things.
All right. So yeah, again, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I was so big into movies. I would watch them kind of the way I would listen to music at that time. And this is all at the very beginning of the cell phone age, right? I would watch movies the way I would listen to music, just over and over and over again. I was grounded. I was always grounded in high school too for fucking, I'd get like caught underage drinking by the police and shit. I was grounded a lot, so I watched a fuck ton of movies, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And listened to a fuck ton of music when I was a teenager, being a little punk shithead. And obviously, like I said, I mean, Martin Scorsese didn't get the gist yet. Just makes some of my absolute favorite movies. Goodfellas is one of his most classic movies, and there's two songs right in the very beginning. There's two songs that really conjure up that nostalgia, that Italian American pride. Not that the second song has anything to do with Italian Americans, but like they're just placed in the movie so perfectly. So the first one, of course, is Tony Bennett singing the song "Rags to Riches," which is the very first song of the movie during the opening credits, where he's got that like they zoom in like a car, stop, and then zoom out, and then the next name comes in the opposite way, and they stop, you read it, and then it goes out, and Tony's singing "Rags to Riches," you know what I mean? Fucking some of the best fucking big band lyrics ever. "Rags to Riches" is a tune. By the way, I'm sorry to go backwards. Goodfellas came out in 1990. So I was 1 year old, maybe, or a few months old, depending on when it came out. I didn't write that down. "Rags to Riches" is a song that was originally came out in 1953, written by two songwriters, Richard Adler and Jerry Ross. But Tony Bennett is probably the most well-known version of it. And I don't know if I have that years Tony Bennett sang it, or the year the Tony Bennett version came out. Anyway, the Tony Bennett version's the one in the movie, and it's a song, as the title kind of just says. It's in it totally outlines the whole movie. Like I said, that's the whole theme of. It's one of the parts of the genre is to have that big opening song. The story of Goodfellas, if you're a fucking idiot and you've never seen it ever in your life, the movie is about a guy going from being a street kid and being taken in by a mafia, an Italian American mafia clan in Queens, and he goes literally from rags to riches, and then through the ringer, gets caught up in drugs and fucks up his life, blah, blah, blah. But that song is so perfect because it comes in with the scene right before the credits is and they revisit the scene later in the film, but it's three of the mobsters in a fucking, they have a what they think is a dead body in the trunk, and fucking so it starts moving around shit, and fucking they pull over, they kill him, make sure he's fucking dead, and then they close up on what the fuck is his name? What's the actor's name? Holy fuck. Why am I blanking out on this? Can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even help you here.
I got you. Like I said, today is the day of looking shit up on the fly. Ray Liotta. How the fuck did I not remember that? I don't know. But he like comes in like this, like that on Ray Liotta, and he goes, all my life. The first words you hear in the fucking movie, all my life I wanted to be a gangster. And then the fucking horns come in. And then the credits start coming in while Tony's singing, I'm gonna go from rags to riches. And the melody, obviously it wasn't written by Italian Americans, but like the melody is very like Italian to me. I listen to a lot of Italian folk music. Surprise. And it's like very theatrical. It's a very theatrical melody, which Italians and Italian music and Italian personalities tend to be very big, theatrical, dramatic. And the melody is like that. And so the credits are going, and then while the song basically plays almost out in its entirety, while it's basically like flashback shots of the main character's backstory, right? When he was a little kid in Queens, watching the mafioso guys across the street, and then he gets a little older and he starts working like at the pizzeria and parking the cars for him and blah, blah, blah. And all the while, Tony Bennett's crooning this Rags to Riches song. It's beautiful. It's perfect. And then the other big thing, so he goes through that whole flashback kind of scene, all the flashback scenes where he's little, right? And he's young and he's a teenager. And then they cut to black. Again, Scorsese's fucking, one of the ways you're watching a Scorsese thing. Cuts to black, and all you hear is a voice that sings in a big, huge voice in a blank black screen. Sometimes I wonder. And that goes right into Billy Ward and the Dominoes singing the jazz standard Stardust. And it's not even the beginning of the tune, but the way Scorsese cuts that tune, there's an intro part, and then where that part is the beginning of the A section of the tune. But like the way Scorsese cut it to just be, it goes, or it's not black, it pauses on like a still frame. And you just hear, sometimes I, boom, and then it lands, and all of a sudden the main character is in his adult form, which starts the story with Stardust. And so for me, Rags to Riches and the Billy Ward and his Dominoes version of Stardust will forever remind me of Goodfellas. I cannot, if I hear it, if I'm, I won't hear it down here in fucking Texas, but like, say like when you're in an Italian restaurant in New Jersey, like sometimes you hear Rags to Riches comes on like in the background. You're just like, you hear that melody, or like or this version of Stardust will come up on in the background. You're eating your fucking ossobuco, your ossobuco, and you're fucking you're like, oh shit, all of a sudden you're thinking about Goodfellas. You're like, oh man, wasn't Goodfellas so good? Like, it's a classic movie for a reason. And Goodfellas is chock full of such good music. I mean, and again, period music, you know, like really Scorsese is such a fucking master. I know nothing about making films, but he's such a master of putting together a soundtrack. And like I said, he always has a hand in, at least a very, very big hand in it. If not, he does all the work himself. And I'm pretty sure he does a lot of his editing himself, which makes that what I was saying, where Stardust comes in with the pause, you know, the film pauses on a still frame, and that line goes, and right where the music drops in on Stardust, on the A section of Stardust, then he's an adult and he's leaning against the car, just looking fucking badass. And we're in like the fucking 60s at this point, the late 60s maybe, or mid 60s. I don't really know exactly when the story was supposed to take place in that very early scene in that movie. It's like a 2.5 hour movie. But goosebumps, man. Really, fucking for real. The last song I had to talk about though comes again. It's a mafia movie. It's directed by a Scorsese. You know, obviously there's huge Scorsese influence on the directing, and therefore the soundtrack of this movie. It was directed by it's the first movie Robert De Niro ever directed himself, and it is a little known mafia classic called A Bronx Tale. Have you ever seen that one?
Nope.
Oh, A Bronx Tale may be my one of my favorites of all modern mafia movies. So same deal again. Like obviously Robert De Niro had been working with Scorsese for like 20, 30 years by the time A Bronx Tale came out in 1993. 20 years at least.
Sure.
20 plus years. So Scorsese's influence is so big on De Niro, and of course, the movie opens with a monologue from the main actor, who's named Lily Brancato, I believe, and the whole scene. And there's doo-wop going on, which is I don't think it's an original tune, but it's it's basically like a blues doo-wop tune that you're hearing while he's giving his monologue in the background. It's a really beautiful tune on the street, and the lyrics, on the streets of the Bronx is where I wanna be, standing on the corner of 187th Street. And that's like where the movie takes place in the Belmont section of the Bronx, Arthur Avenue area of the Bronx. But so Lily Brancato gives his monologue. This is the Fordham section. That's it. This is the Fordham section of the Bronx. There's my stoop right there. And they're just like kind of going through almost like what's going to be basically the scene for the entire movie of like this neighborhood. You know, they show like the bar where the mafia guys hung, and the fucking, you know, place where like the eccentric guy in the neighborhood was. And my favorite part of the intro, and all across the neighborhood, you would hear the sounds of young Italian men romancing their women. And then they cut to a dude in the car going, Maria, get in the fucking car. It's the best. Mm-hmm. But then same deal, kind of like Goodfellas. They like cut to like Mean Streets rather, where they do like a montage of like the Bronx Italian American neighborhoods, like just clips of, you know, Italian Americans fucking selling fruit or playing stickball in the streets of the Bronx, and all the while, not only period correct, because the story takes place in the early 60s. It's based on a true story about Chaz Palminteri's life, who is the actor who plays Sonny. He wrote the movie, and it started actually as a one-man play on like an off-Broadway kind of a thing he did that turned into this movie. Robert De Niro discovered Chaz Palminteri, basically. Chaz plays the main mafia guy, Sonny. But all the while during this montage of Italian Americans in the Bronx, and the nostalgia of the heyday of the Italian American neighborhood, not only period correct, but geographically correct. Dion and the Belmonts, true Italian American heroes. Dion DiMucci, especially, true Italian American hero, singing one of his most classic tunes, "I Wonder Why," during the intro of this tune. And there's nothing I couldn't have said about the other two that doesn't go for this one as well. It's such a perfect choice for the intro to a mob movie about Italian American mafia in the Bronx, being sung by, this time, well, I guess the Goodfellas Tony Bennett is Italian, but this time it's a guy who was from the exact same neighborhood, the Belmont Avenue Italian Americans, singing one of his biggest tunes, "I Wonder Why." "I Wonder Why" is like kind of a cross between doo-wop and rock and roll. You could kind of call it both. You could look at it as a rock and roll tune, or you could look at it as a doo-wop tune. It's a fucking fantastic tune. Nothing much to say about it. 1-6-4-5 type thing. Or not even. I think it's just 1-4-5. Then it's got a bridge. Great tune. Fantastic movie. Maybe my favorite of all the modern movies, or at least tied with Goodfellas for sure. I Wonder Why. Fuck. It's just a fantastic song, and every time you hear it, you hear that it comes in with that, and in the movie too, it comes in with the intro of the tune. It's just the bass singer. Then the voices, the doo-wop voices build. Love you like I do. Boom, do love you, don't know I can. Then Dion comes in. I wonder why I love you like I do. And it makes you so proud to be Italian. Watching this intro, there's like guys cutting pizzas and shit, and like guys pulling up in convertibles and like catcalling chicks with their fucking pompadours and their fucking chest hair open and their fucking guinea tees underneath a fucking button down. Like, it makes you so nostalgic. I wasn't around in the early 60s, but it makes you so wish you were, because of the mix of that song with the imagery of this great, thriving Italian American neighborhood. I love it. I love it. I love it. I don't think there's any more to say. Mean Streets, which has the Ronettes' "Be My Baby." Goodfellas, which has Tony Bennett's "Rags to Riches" into Billy Ward and the Dominoes' version of "Stardust." And A Bronx Tale, which has the great, great, great Dion and the Belmonts' "I Wonder Why." All three of those tunes and all three of those movies make me so proud to be Italian. And that's all there is to say about it. So dig the music. If you have not seen any of those three movies, I could not suggest them more. They're three of my absolute favorite movies, and if you're into mob and mafia movies, you will not be disappointed. Although, if you're into those movies, you've probably seen all three of these. But if you're looking for a good movie on a fucking Friday or Saturday night or rainy night, check those out. Done.
Well, and all the songs are going to be added to our wonderful Spotify playlist, so you can check out all those classic Italian American hits. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking. It's a shame I'm in Texas right now because all I'm craving is fucking a big fucking pizza.
And
or maybe a meatball sub.
I was gonna say you're craving the Sandlot while eating a pizza is what we just did today. We created you're gonna have to. Then if you do that, actually, if you get yourself
or have
pizza,
a couple of like hot dogs and watch Mean Streets.
No, get yourself the Sandlot and get yourself You can actually just turn off the sound. Listen to the Vin and Phil Show playlist while watching The Sandlot and eating a pizza, and then just let it roll right on into the Mean Streets. We'll even put it in order for you, so that it'll just Sandlot ends and it just rolls right into Mean Streets.
Phil, I'm telling you, you especially too, man. You should fucking sit down. Just do 3 days in a row. Do the three I just said. 3.
Do you know what you're
Mean
asking,
Streets,
Vin? You just said sit down for
Goodfellas.
3 days. Come on, man.
A Bronx Tale. Come on, man. 3 nights in a row. 3 nights in a row.
Well, but
Go have 3 or do 3 Sundays in a row with Mick. Go to Mick's house and be like, we have mandatory movie watching to do 3 weeks in a row. I'm pretty sure me and Mick have talked about Goodfellas at least.
he's better than I am about catching up on what he's supposed to catch. I mean, I watched The Godfather for the first time like 3 years ago.
Fantastic, but The Godfather has an original score, and here's a funny story about The Godfather and that original score and all, and me, I guess. Maybe we're talking, I don't know, I don't even want to say what year because I'll get it wrong, but I was living in Boston still. I don't remember, I was still in college or just one of those years after college. I was still living in Boston. But it was whatever year that was going to be the composer of the score. His name is Nino Rota. And it was going to be his whatever year he would have turned 100 years old. And there was like an art film house right in Harvard Square in Cambridge. Like a little indie film house, right? And I saw somehow that they were going to be showing Godfathers Parts 1 and 2 back to back on original 1970. I'm going to get that wrong too, but I think it's 74 that The Godfather came out. Original 1974 reels. And I said, fuck yeah, I'm going. And I got myself one fucking ticket just for myself, and I went to the fucking the movie theater, and I sat there. I guess it must have been after I graduated, because I remember getting a little bit drunk on, like, because they served wine at this fucking movie theater. I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna be drinking wine the whole time watching Godfather's Parts 1 and 2 on original reels. And it was fucking magical. It was magical. Drinking wine and like the old reel, like why? Like I obviously I had these movies on DVD. I'd seen them billions of times, but like seeing them on original reels and with like you get the little dot, like the little dot in the corner where they burned the film together. You know, like back in before the digital age, they would like have to connect reels of film to make one big giant movie, you know, like every like couple of minutes you see that little dot in the corner. But I sat through, like, I mean, parts 1 and 2 together are like 5.5 to 6 hours worth of movie that I did myself. Anyway,
that is longer
dedication.
Yeah, that's why it took me so long to go and watch the first one, because
the first one's not even that bad. It's the second one that's like 3+ hours.
There's a reason I haven't seen the second one.
How can you, Phil, quit one of your jobs and start watching mafia movies?
Oh yeah. I'll do that for you, Vin.
Immediately. Call him tomorrow.
Well, like I said, we'll definitely update the list. We actually only have so many songs that we talked about today, but we, despite our best efforts, covered them in deep coverage today on both sides. We both anticipated that with our lack of studying, that we would have been short-winded. However, we're at like almost 2 hours. We found a way to make this the longest episode we have done yet. But I mean, again, I think it wraps around to the whole starting point of just how powerful the connections are between the music and the movies and what they mean. I
think that having multiple the like we were saying about senses before, having multiple senses going at the same time makes it that more memorable, and personal, that like you feel more connected because there were multiple senses,
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I suspect that we're going to end up having a couple more episodes. There's, before when you were talking, one popped into my head, and this is now, as we're talking, I'm right away, because I don't want to start the whole conversation again, but like, for instance, Quentin Tarantino also.
He's known for having some of the best.
Right, and that's why I didn't even think about, but I'm thinking, I love the movie Desperado. That might even be one that I have to talk about because it's not even the most well-known movie. But I know that soundtrack inside and out, including the song that Antonio Banderas actually sings on. But it's that kind of stuff. I mean, and for people who are music lovers, keep in mind how there's a job there. Like there are people there are the composers. And then there's somebody whose job is to curate that song. And you can see how powerful that job is. It might arguably be more powerful than any of the other jobs in the movies. Like, and I'm not just saying that because I'm biased towards the music. We just proved it. Like, the fact that I can think about the scenes, from these movies is not because I'm sorry. It's not because of how amazing. Nobody talks about The Sandlot from its cinematic quality and the lenses that they shot it with, or that's not about it. It's the overall, what that movie and the vibe and what the memories it created for people. It's just it's a cool thing. Like I said, that's why this is one of those ongoing conversations. But check out all the music on Vin and Phil show. That'll be a good one. And we might end up having to make it a second playlist just because, there might be a limit after we hit a certain number of hours.
Who knows? Hey, you know what? We'll just keep going. We'll keep going until they say we can't keep going.
They're going to be like, guys,
we'll figure that out.
You've included all of our Spotify library at this point, so what do you want us to do?
I like this because both of us kind of went with like older tunes,
Yeah, well,
I mean, it fits what I like, what I personally enjoy.
I think that ties in partially with our nostalgia and what we're talking about, but maybe that's an interesting theme. Is maybe we'll look at some, try and pick something that's a little bit more modern or something that had that same effect, and why that would be. That might be interesting too. And this is obviously totally discounting, any of the Disney stuff and everything, things that were written specifically with their music being included in them. And then, I guess, in terms of that pretty much more than wraps it up for us. I guess,
like you said, I don't think we intended to go this long.
No, I gotta
sure.
literally get to bed in like the next 5 minutes so I can make sure I'm on set tomorrow on time.
Yes.
But and then I guess, just real fast, check out Vin's got new music coming at you for sure. I got a new song coming out Friday. If you're feeling generous, hit the Venmos. It's
Please.
at Vincent-Mott, at Phil-Silverberg. And there will definitely be more episodes just like this. Maybe shorter, maybe longer. Maybe, who knows? We'll keep going whether you're listening or not. So, and I guess that's that, Vin. Should we say farewell with our deuces?
Peace.